great question is, will there be another Gibb Collective record? That's been asked by loads of people on the internet. Once again, never say never. I think probably more likely yes than no. It's something that we've all really enjoyed, coming together as cousins. I think we've all really enjoyed exploring our father's catalogues and picking out songs and coming together and just seeing how it all sounds and how we could bring our unique feel to it. I know that's something that I would love to do again. It's really just a matter of understanding that this was a huge logistical undertaking to bring all these people together to record this record from all over the world. To do so again, you know, would be another huge undertaking. It's something that I'm certainly keen to do again, and I would hope that happens again in the future.
It's really cool that lots of people are interested in that. We don't, to the best of my knowledge, have any plans to do another record, but if this one is successful and people dig it, then I guess I'd be up for it, so thanks.
It's up to you guys, you know, if we get a great response from doing this one, then I think it'll open the door to allowing us to be able to do more. I think just being able to do this has been incredible because it is a tribute. We were able to come together for this one, so I can definitely see more in the future. I'll have to wait and see.
I don't know. Are you going to buy this one? And we'll make another.
I had a lot of fun working on it, and I think it was great for us to unite on this project in this sort of way. I mean, we've been in touch, but in order to actually build an album together, yeah, I would happily do it again.
There is talk about it, a GC too, and who knows what the future will hold. We're just trying to get through this one.
Or which artist has influenced your own musical style? Who is my source of musical inspiration? And I would say, Doe, that my musical inspiration comes from all over. I just love music, and I love everything from country to jazz to classical, obviously most of all to pop, and my pop interests and tastes range from everything from Robbie Williams to Ed Sheeran to Adele, In Excess, AC/DC. I love good music. In terms of my recording for the Gibb Collective, I was really influenced by one of my favourite old bands, Evanescence. We really wanted to bring, I guess, their sense of melancholy to this record, and they were a real inspiration when it came to this arrangement, and I really hope that you can probably hear that inspiration when you listen to my version of Fool for a Night.
I grew up listening to the Carpenters and Queen, Oingo Boingo. In our house, the Mills Brothers and the Andrews Sisters and Ella Fitzgerald were played constantly.
How does it feel reuniting for this project from Donna Gagara Cruz? Never actually reunited in one room, if that's what you're thinking, or one studio. And it was more, kind of as the title of the project is it was a collective. You know, we kind of collectively came together. We were united in spirit. Peta is in Australia, RJ in England, Spencer in Austin, Sammy in Ohio, me in Miami, Travis in Miami, Barry in Las Vegas, you know, so we're all over the place.
We didn't technically reunite, like we weren't all in one room at one point together, but coming together for this was incredible and an amazing experience. And being able to share all of our creativity with each other and our ideas, it's been awesome, it's been really great, and I'm grateful.
We haven't really reunited. All of these songs were recorded in different places. Everybody kind of has their own studio or studios they work out of. They were all done in different locations, and so it's kind of been a virtual reuniting. You know, that in and of itself is pretty cool, the fact that, you know, even something like this could happen, because without modern technology it wouldn't be possible.
Well, that's a tricky question, Donna, because that's not really how it happened. It's not so much of a reunion. I mean, we're already family, of course, but we live in different cities. You know, some people have children and some people don't, and some people travel all the time and do different things. You know, and a lot of the work has been done sort of via long distance. So did we all record it in the same studio? No, we didn't. So of course, this ties in with that. You know, it's been a lot of fun, and it's been a lot of fun working with Sam and Laz.
What's my favorite song that my dad has ever sang lead on? Well, again,
Robin, I have tons of favorites. I really do love the song With the Sun in My Eyes. That's a really special song to me. Words has always been a family favorite in our family, but Dad's got a lot of tunes, so it's tough.
I have a couple. For me, I think initially my main one would be Amiga Man, because it was, to me, it was a song that should have been a single. when I first heard it, to me, like a perfect pop record. It reminds me of a song Savage Garden did called I Want You that came out after it, and that was a huge hit. So like I always felt like Amiga Man would have been my dad's one big hit that he had, because he never really ever had a song that he sang lead on that was a hit. So that would probably be my favorite.
I can't really answer that either. I mean, there are so many songs. I mean, there's so many and sort of diverse styles, you know, and solo records with more diverse styles. So many different eras, you know. I like some of the intense R&B stuff a lot, like, you know, Mr. Natural record, Love Me from Children of the World. There's also an amazing little breakdown in the middle of You Can't Keep a Good Man Down, which is a great track from Children of the World. It's just this sort of screaming sort of R&B piece of insanity in the middle of the song. It's the Just When I Needed You section that my dad sings that is just awesome. Also the falsetto on Living Together on Spirits Having Flown is great. So if you don't know that, check that out. There's too many. I mean, come on.
You know, I love Wildflower. I love that song that he sings on. Trafalgar, I really love that one too. On Time, Closer Than Close. So that was a few, but I guess it's hard to pick one, you know.
Which artist has influenced my own music style? And what's my greatest source of musical inspiration, basically, is what she's asking. I would have to say, you know, that's a tough one, though, because I'm really a fan of so many different styles of music and so many different artists. And, you know, I will tell you that I was inspired to pick up the guitar because of Van Halen when I was a kid, and that was obviously a huge musical influence for me, as it, you know, also was a lot of people my age. You know, also Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, Lynyrd Skynyrd, Allman Brothers, everybody from Jeff Buckley to Chris Whitley. As far as new guys, Jason Isbell is an unbelievable songwriter, and I just can't get enough of that guy.
I get inspiration from everywhere. You know, I get inspiration when I hear a new song on the radio. I get that feeling in my belly where I'm excited, I feel something. That inspires me. You know, my sister, she inspires me. She's always pushing and trying to make things with her music, and I think seeing how she writes music and works at it, that's an inspiration to me. And then of course my dad, like the ultimate inspiration. You know, I learned a lot of stuff from him. So that's what inspires me musically. And if there's a period of time that influenced me, it was probably the 80s. Lots of good stuff came out back then, like just happy music, not so intense or heavy.
This could be a whole interview, I've got to be honest. There's lots of different influences from different time periods. One of my biggest overall influences in terms of how to approach things was definitely Prince. This was a guy that did everything himself, sort of broke some rules in terms of, okay, well, I can produce my own records, I can engineer my own records, I can play a bunch of different instruments. And so that really inspired me when I was a teenager, when you're sort of fighting against people saying no to you a lot. I started making my own 4-track machines and teaching myself to engineer before I ever like apprenticed at a studio. The idea of blending styles was something I really got from him. Like it was, you know, okay to listen to blues, get down with Otis Redding, but also, you know, be in love with Joni Mitchell. I mean, Joni Mitchell was a huge influence, one of my favorite writers of all time. Michael Jackson was a massive influence as a kid. And a lot of that, I think, was not just the fact that he was just such an incredible performer, but there was a meticulousness to his craft, you know, something that my family has as well, you know, that the brothers have, was this professionalism and this perfectionism. So I always loved that. And then I fell in love with the guitar when I was like, you know, 15, and that led me to falling in love with blues. So Freddie King and B.B. King and Eric Clapton and George Harrison and All Things Must Pass changed my life, and the Layla record changed my life. You know, and there are so many rabbit holes you go down. I've got producers that, and of course, you know, my family, massive influence, as they should be to anyone who's into songwriting, production, you name it. So yeah, I could really talk about that forever, but R&B was kind of my first love. Sam Cooke, Otis Redding, Motown. It was the stuff that my mom was into, the stuff my dad was into. We listened to a lot of it as a kid. Those are sort of my roots, and that's kind of what I've gone back to doing right now. It's stuff that's in that vein that goes back to those roots, you know. Whereas 54 Seconds was more of a psychedelic band, but we had more of that sort of Prince kind of approach to things, where it's like we could be all things. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. Yeah, I hope that's a good enough answer for you, because I could talk about that all day.
Blues, country, jazz, EDM, pop. I'm definitely, maybe it's classic rock I'd go with, like just that whole vibe, you know, Bob Seger and a Steve Miller Band and Zeppelin, like the jam bands, you know, like Grateful Dead, and I'm inspired by it all.
I would say starting from the Baroque and Romantic era of classical, everyone from Bach, Wagner, Beethoven, Mozart, Schubert, all the way up to you know, Roy Orbison, Chuck Berry, Elvis, Johnny Cash, the Stones, the Beatles. I would also say that even the punk era had a lot to do with it, and the post-punk era, like David Bowie, Lou Reed, then into the Sex Pistols and the Ramones, and then later to like Nirvana. So yeah, there's a lot of influence there.
Next question is from Leslie Meacham-Gilly. What is your strangest talent? I'm pretty good at doing handstands, but I'm not going to do one right here. So that, you know, that could be dangerous if I tumble. I have quite a few other interests outside of music. I love cooking. I love working out. I'm really into health. I'm very passionate about helping people with anybody who has problems with addiction or alcoholism. That's kind of too much information, but probably do have a strange talent, but I'm not going to mention it here.
And not a lot of people know I can do a standing backflip with a couple back steps. And not many people know, but I'm an expert trampolinist.
I would say, well, if you call it strange, I guess you could call it strange. I'm a mentalist as well, which is I use verbal and non-verbal influence to bring about effects like a psychological magician of sorts. I think it's definitely out of the ordinary, so I would call it the strangest talent I could think of.
Leslie, I'm pretty famous in my family and circle of friends for this, so I'm going to share this with you. I can touch the end of my nose with my tongue. This is apparently pretty freaky, so here you go. I'm going to do this just for you. You ready?
I did it. I can still do it.
You'd have to date me to find that out, Leslie. So there you go. I make lighting fixtures out of galvanized pipe and other quirky things like that. They look cool. I don't have a website where you can see them, but trust me, they're okay.
Next question is from Paige Tatters Kermack. What superpower would you most love to have? Breathing underwater seems like it'd be kind of cool to have. Flying would be really cool. Or just, you know, I'd just like to be a better guitar player or singer. You know, I'd settle for some of those superpowers if they're giving them out.
That's super easy. That's, you know, I'd want to fly. I mean, why would you be Spider-Man and climb up walls with your fingers when you could just fly over them? That's all I want to say. You know, and if you had sort of super strength and you could, I mean, come on, Superman was the guy.
The gift of an incredible strength or to fly. Either one of those would be fine by me.
I think probably to fly, you know, like Superman. You know, as much as like you kind of think, you know, but then when you think about it, if you're flying, it's kind of out of control, you know, and if you're afraid of heights, yeah, probably to fly, because, you know, if you wanted to just escape something or go somewhere and you didn't have to like sit in traffic, you know, you just go up into the sky and just see like the beauty of everything. I don't know, I think something about that would want that as a superpower.
I think to be invisible, you know, I'm very intrigued by just people and why they do the things they do, and the idea of being able to kind of be a fly on the wall in certain situations. And just, I'm intrigued by that. And
to be invisible.
Errol Jean Wallace asks, what do I do in my everyday life? I'm a father. I hang out a lot with my kid. I work on music. I practice playing the guitar. I'm into things like working out, like I said, cooking, meditation. Kind of have a pretty boring life, if you want to be honest, but I like it.
Carol, music is really just one small part of my life, really. I'm a wife and mum to 2 young boys. They certainly keep me busy. I'm also a high school teacher. I coordinate programs for Year 11 and 12 students who struggle with school, who struggle to stay on the straight and narrow, who might be struggling with literacy problems. And that's probably the great passion of my life. I do that full time and I absolutely love my work in education. And I'm also studying for a master's in education at the moment as well. So yeah, life is kind of crazy at the moment, as well as everything that's been going on with the Gibb Collective project.
I think number one, I'm a dad. That's kind of my main job at the moment because I have 2 young ones under the age of 5 or 5 and under. They kind of take up a lot of my day. I take care of my dad's estate with requests from a day-to-day basis. That's kind of what I do. I dabble in songwriting, not as much as I'd like to, as I used to do a lot more. Lately, not so much with time. The same with screenwriting. I actually went to college. That's what I learned. I majored in that, in motion picture and history. That's what I do on a day-to-day basis. But like I said, right now it's probably being a dad, and it's one of those most rewarding things in life.
I like to do anything that has to do with wheels, working on my car, going on my bicycle, going to the gym, staying healthy.
Silly things. Housework, taking care of my dogs, my husband. I write books, scripts, poems, and I paint, doodle. Oh, and I poop a scoop, and I clean the pool, and I mow the yard. Now and then, sometimes.
I love photography. Most people who follow me online know that. Believe it or not, I love landscaping and I love construction. I love building things. I said in a previous question, I make lighting fixtures out of galvanized pipe and other things in shelves, and I've made a couple of desks and a loft bed. I've done framing work on my house. I like building decks. It's very cathartic. I'm planting things. I love plants. So whenever I'm sort of in kind of a bad place, I like building something. I guess it's kind of like writing a song. It's just something else to create.
Full-time mom, a songwriter, producing, making music, writing music, singing. And yeah, other than that, I take care of my house, clean up after all my animals, and that's what I do.
Mary Anna Jackson asks, when did you realize that you were musically inclined? Well, it was a very musical household. I had a lot of musical lessons in a wide variety of instruments, starting with the violin, then to the trumpet, the saxophone, the piano. Keyboards and guitar are what I settled on for composition because I find it the easiest to use those to compose music with.
Well, I don't know if I ever had the conscious thought of, wow, I'm really musically inclined. What I do know is that in my early teens, I became obsessed with playing the guitar. I became obsessed with rock and roll and heavy metal music. So at that time, I just spent all my free time when I wasn't at school listening or playing music, trying to get better at that.
Mary Anna, I would say that I probably never actually had a physical realization. I've just always liked to sing. So when I started talking, I kind of started singing at the same time, and anything I heard on the radio, I copied. I've always had an amazing memory for lyrics and melody, and music has just always been a massive part of who I am, really.
I would say at about 12, pretty much. That's when I remember writing my first song. I just kind of fell in love with creating music at one point. I studied music as a kid, like as a little kid, but it was sort of, I wouldn't say it was expected of me because of my family. It was never, no one ever forced music on me at all. But I think school forced it on me. I was interested in taking piano classes, but I took them, but I hated the teacher. It was kind of a very sort of like rough, old school kind of way of teaching, slap your knuckles with the ruler and practice, 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 and no soul in it. So I quit that, tried a few other instruments, played the flute, played the bagpipes for a little while. It's true, really did. And then, Robert Stigwood, my godfather and, the brother's manager, he had given me a piano when I was a little kid. I had that with me still, and I started messing around with it by myself, I just started writing. And that was it. And so I started teaching myself to play. And for a while I was actually a pretty good pianist. I'm really not so much anymore, because I play to write, and I play very, very simplistically. I fell in love with the guitar a couple of years later, so about 15, and then fell in love with blues. So now I'm just rambling on about it. But yeah, I was about 12.
For me, it would have to be when my dad used to take me on drives. He used to just say, Adam, do you want to go for a ride? And I was 4 or 5 years old. I'd be like, yes, please, I remember sitting in his car, and you were so small that you just kind of looked up and all you could see is out the window. He used to play like his favorite music, ABBA, the greatest hits or something that was out, maybe early 80s. And I used to just listen to the music and see outside, and I almost put the music to real life, or it was just this, you get an emotion or a feeling about the music and what you were seeing out the window. When I think back, of course at the time, you don't realize that that's anything. We're all sort of born with it to a degree, but I think that's what I would have to say, that's the moment where I realized it.
I might have been 8 years old, and I remember singing this, but Kylie Minogue came out with a movie, I want to say The Delinquents, and that guy from the Ferris Bueller show was in it as well. The song Tears on My Pillow was in that, and she did a remake of it. And I remember I would just listen to it over and over again, and I sat in my bed one night, my dad was tucking me in, and I said, can you listen to me sing a song? I sang that to him, and it was the Tears on My Pillow. Better song. So I sang the song to him. He told me this later, but he went downstairs after that and told my mom, like, oh my God, she can sing. Like, I can't believe, like, she can really sing. I always loved hearing that story, because he just told me, he's just like, very good, love, And I'm thinking, okay, my dad, he's gonna tell me, that he loves me and that I'm doing such a great job. But yeah, he actually really thought I could sing. So.
All right, Vicky Von Holten would like to know boxers, briefs, or commando? You're naughty. You're very naughty. And the answer is commando.
Vicky, what do you think? Now I'm briefs, like boxer briefs. I'm actually boxers and briefs. I'm a little bit long.
Tighty whities when I was young. Tried boxers. Hated it because it just was not enough support. And then commando would be, virtually, there's no support, so definitely not happening. And so I'm a boxer brief guy.
Boxers, briefs, or commando? I would say hardly ever briefs. I'd have to be in a very masochistic mood. Mostly boxers. I'd have to say when I'm in a very, very good mood. I'd have to be ecstatic. Well, then it's behind enemy lines.
It's either commandos or briefs.
Depends on the mood. Vicky Von Holten. Yeah, it really does. I wear all three at certain times in my life. So.
What was the first Gibb Brothers song you sang as a child, or the first one you heard and became a childhood favorite? That's from James Lockwood. Like I said earlier, I don't really have a quote-unquote favorite song, but first song I probably sang that was a BeeGees song was To Love Somebody, and that was, we're going back 20 years ago now. So, that's another one of my favorite tunes, if there's a favorite.
That's pretty easy. It was nice on Broadway. I was 2 or 3 years old. It's the first song I actually remember my dad playing me. I remember him being really excited by it. I remember really liking it too, and it's still one of my favorite songs. I just love that song.
The first song I sang as a child would be Islands in the Stream. I was at Uncle Barry's house, 84, so I was, 8 years old. We'd be on the pool table with tennis rackets as guitars, and Ashley and I would be doing, the duet, singing together. So that's the first one that I can remember. One that I heard that became a childhood favorite. There's actually a song, it was Children of the World, because I remember sitting in either my Uncle Barry's car or my dad's, one of the two. And I remember hearing the album being played in the car, and I'd never heard it before. And that song just stuck out to me. So that's probably like the first one that just became a childhood favorite.
Two of my favorites are Birdie Told Me, which I still sing today, and the other one is The Battle of the Blue and Gray.
I'd have to say The Lord from the Cucumber Castle. You can't believe what you wanna, but know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna believe in the Lord. I'm gonna believe in the Lord. Anyway, and I just loved the way they sang it, and it's just great guitar, and it's my Uncle Barry and my dad, I think, did the song, and I just loved it. I sang it all the time, so yeah, that would probably be the first one.
There used to be a stack of records in the old playroom in the house we grew up in. I somehow found a way to play it on a little record machine that was in the room. I think off of Living Eyes. It might be the song Living Eyes. I never even heard them perform it, but it's the first one that stuck in my head for a while.
What, if any, was the first instrument that I played? And my first instrument was piano. I started playing at like 6 years old, played it on and off until I was probably 14 years old.
First instrument that I learned to play, the only instrument that I can play, is a piano. I was, I think, about 5 years old. My mom and dad started lessons at the school I was at. The teacher's name was Miss Chasen. She was this French lady. She was very stern, but very good. Don't know if I really was a fan of doing the lessons at the time, but still learned from her and learned to love the piano. If you asked me to play a classical piece, I would not be able to do that for you. To write, I know enough to write, I think. That's the instrument that I can play.
It would be the piano. That was the first thing I was drawn to. I could go into my own little world. I loved it, and I still do. I still play, so.
I started off playing piano very young. I was able to read and play sheet music at a very young age. Being a kid, I stopped for a while, got into guitar, and now I'm back around playing keyboard and piano again.
What is one item you cannot live without? Probably a camera. I always have a camera with me. I'm shooting all the time. It's kind of like an extension of me. It's a sort of security blanket. Sleepy time tea. Love sleepy time tea.
And for me, that would be my Gibson Les Paul R9 Sunburst guitar that you guys may or may not have seen me play. I guess currently it's these stupid glasses. I mean, now I wear glasses. I never wore glasses. Now I need them, and so, yeah, I guess that's the one thing I can't live without.
You need people. You have relationships with people. With material things, not so much. After I lost my dad, the story, after he passed away, I had all these things, you know, his jewelry and like a camera. My last Christmas gift he gave me. My house was broken into, everything was taken. I was devastated. I think the one thing that I learned was that to not hold on to things. You know, at the end of the day, they're just things. Like I said earlier, people are things you can't live without and that you need. So I'd say there's no item.
A device we use these days to network between our friends. It's vital for our business contacts, and I think it's basically become an extension of our brain. Like, you could just see where this is going. In the future, we'll probably have mods on the outside of our brain that, you know, just feed us information if we want to download it off the net or feed it some sort of disk. You know, like, honey, I'll be there in a minute. I'm just learning karate. Yeah, I'm talking about the mobile phone or an iPad.
My husband, can't live without him. Who would I torment? I mean, on a daily basis.
My bottle of water and food, obviously.
Water.
What is your motto or advice you live by? It goes like this: you cannot rationalize an irrational person or situation, and you just can't. I say it all the time, and you're just gonna beat your head against the wall if you do. It doesn't matter if it's in a relationship, or if it's a business person, a friend, or it's just the overall situation, and you try to make sense of it. You can't. You can't. If it's irrational, you're not gonna make it rational or logical. It's not gonna happen. So I live by that, and I try to, preach that a lot.
Well, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And doing your best to live an honest existence. One of my other favorites is the road to hell was paved with good intentions.
Expectations are resentments in the making. Nothing good can happen after 2 a.m. My dad used to say that to me when I was younger.
Wake up, do the best you can, give back, and do what you can for others, and go to bed.
Communication is key. I'll take a little line from a song, it's a very short little song we did for Earth Day, my partner, Laz, and I did. Explore and seize the day. Give back more than you take. Definitely words that I like to live by.
Don't worry, be happy.
Well, something my father and I used to say, chin up, trousers down, onwards and upwards.
If you could open up for any artist, who would it be? Well, like I mentioned earlier, I'm a really big fan of Jason Isbell's. I think he's just awesome. And, some other types of artists that I'm really digging right now, very different still, are, Mastodon's amazing. Gojira is another amazing metal band. And those are bands that I would love the opportunity to tour with in some capacity.
I haven't really thought about that in years, and truthfully, it was something you wanted to do to get more recognition, and you'd want to win over other people's fans. I never really thought about it too much in the sense of, I'd love to open for this artist, because they're cool. Because it's not like you really meet that artist and shake their hand or play together. It's not really like that. It's sort of just like, okay, you got the opening slot, and it looks good on the ticket or the poster. Yeah, definitely on the poster. That's cool. I definitely would have loved to open for Prince, and I think maybe because of the prestige thing, I think it would have scared the crap out of me because you'd have been like feeling judged. And I did get to meet him a few times, which was cool. I'd like to have opened for the BeeGees, and that would have been like a sort of prestige thing because it's my family and they were so great. It would have been a fun thing to do, and maybe we could have done something together, if that opportunity had come up. So that's different. It's a good question. It's a tough question.
Oingo Boingo, well, Queen, and Bruno Mars, Nickelback. Sorry. I just got Canada.
The Prodigy. Basically, I grew up listening to a lot of 90s rock, early electronic music. I still feel it today when I'm producing. It's hard to escape it, really.
I want somebody that's gonna give me the best launching pad, somebody that's gonna get to the right audience that I wanna be to, and that would be the widest audience. A big artist like Coldplay, that play stadiums, that'd be probably a great artist to open up for. And I also met Chris Martin, and he's this amazing guy. To open up for them would be an honor. That'd probably be the artist I would open up for, or like to.
Coldplay, Adele.
What is your favourite non-musical activity you enjoy doing? And I would say that probably playing with my puppy dogs. I have always had a lot to do with show dogs. That's been a big part of my life all my life. Not so much these days with everything I've got going on with family and work. Enjoying the love of animals in particular is hugely important to me. We have a little bit of a farm here outside of Sydney. We have chooks, dogs obviously, and a cat and birds, and we really love enjoying the outdoors and animals, and they're a really huge part of my life and a big part of the way I spend my leisure time.
Probably reading, cooking, working out, but number one is probably just hanging out with my kids.
That's easy. It's photography. I take a lot of pictures.
It's one of those things that can change from week to week. But if you're asking me it right now, it's probably talking to my son about sports, playing sports with him. He's 5.5 and he's, shooting basketballs and telling me, Daddy, the Heat won tonight or last night, and can you believe they only won by 2 points? It's just little things like that. It brings me joy. That's kind of my favorite activity, non-musical at the moment.
I love hanging with my family. I love playing with my son. I love filming. I love photography. I love being in the woods. I love gardening. I love getting my hands dirty in the dirt. It's like just...
What destination is your happy place? And I would probably say the ocean, around the ocean, on the ocean, in the ocean, in the water. In the water, it really does bring that great sense of peace and meditation, which is really important when you've got a busy, stressful life.
But anywhere near the ocean, water. Anywhere I can look out, see the sunrise, the sunset, smell the salt air. If I'm on a boat, on the sand on the beach, walking down it, as long as there's not dirty stuff on the beach, I'm good.
Going to Colorado, no matter what season it is, or California.
I'd have to say it's Boston. It's one of those places for me that has always kind of given me my zen or my balance. If I needed to ever rebalance myself and get back to a kind of, normal, it's a place I would go to when I was younger. It's a place where I took my wife before we were married. It's where we kind of cemented, where we realized that we were gonna be married one day. It's a place that holds a special place in my heart. It's also very similar to England, kind of like a taste of England in America, and it's not as far away. So yes, that'd be my happy place.
Short answer, the mountains. Anywhere. I love mountains. Show me a mountain and I'm happy.
In my head, it's always going to be New York. It's where my fondest growing up memories are from. I love big cities. I love the energy of it, but it's also the history of New York, and there's a magical thing to me there. When I'm there, I always feel at home. It's expensive as shit now, which really sucks, so moving back there isn't really an option anytime soon. But I would happily do it. Like if I was on a job or something where I was forced to go and live in New York for 2 or 3 years, I would totally welcome it. I love the energy, I love the sound of the city at night. Yeah, it's the closest to feeling like home. I'm also in love with Prague now. Prague is one of my favorite cities in the world, and I get to work there for a little while, about once a year, going back the last few years. So that makes me really happy. The people are beautiful, the city's beautiful. It looks good in any lighting, I'm not kidding. Prague is my happy place right now.
That would be my home. It's my happy place.
And 10 years from now, I will be hopefully alive and hopefully still doing what I'm doing now, although who knows? I am passionate about a lot of things, and I guess the most important thing is I just want to be better than I was now. So, there you have it. Hope that works. Yeah? Good? All right.
I will still be a work in progress. And that's, I think, all we should aspire to be.
I will be continuing to write, continuing to make music, have more animals on our farm, hopefully living a happy and peaceful life. That's the plan.
I hope I am a wiser, a better person, I'm a better husband. It's one of those things, again, that I learned from my dad, that you just have to try to be better, because we're gonna mess up, you're gonna make mistakes, and you're gonna do things that are gonna make people not happy or happy, but at the end of the day, as long as you're trying your best to be better, maybe that's a motto as well that I'd go by. 10 years from now, that's where I hope I am.